Hi guys, this is Felicia. Thank you so much for being here today at the Rediscover You, a Special Needs Workshop Part 2. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today, so thank you. All right, so on the agenda for today, we're going to go over a brief introduction, a little bit of my story, some surprising information, how to be honest with yourself, the importance of acknowledging your emotions, following your intuition, and then we're going to open up for discussion in a safe space. So once again, welcome and thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you could join us today. This is a safe space for parents like you who have unique journeys in raising children with special needs. In today's workshop, the goal is to explore the interconnected themes of learning how to be honest with yourself, acknowledging your emotions, and following your gut instincts or intuition. Through our conversation today, we're going to have some reflective exercises and practical strategies, and we will see that we can begin to empower ourselves to embrace not only self-honesty, but also our emotions and intuition. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'd like to start things off today with a quote. It's to rediscover yourself is to remember who you truly are. And it's from an unknown source. And I just want you to take a second and just think about that. How rediscovering yourself really puts into perspective us envisioning and remembering who we really are. It's really a powerful, powerful quote if you think about it. And that leads us into our next slide, which is self-reflection. And just for a second, I want you to consider where you are right now in your journey. Just take a second, close your eyes if you need to, take a deep breath. Think about your thoughts and your feelings and the actions that you've taken or are considering taking. And if you feel comfortable, you can jot them down on a piece of paper or just think about it. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's about understanding where you are individually and just taking the time to really think about it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Here's another quote that I wanted to start things off with a little bit. There's no better time than now to start planting the seeds for your tomorrow. And this is another really powerful quote if you think about it, because we live in the present moment. In order for us to be able to envision and to create the futures that we want, we have to start planting those seeds today. And that's a really powerful reminder that we do have the power to choose, no matter what our situation is, how we want things to look like tomorrow. And it's all based off of the actions that we take today. All right. So a little bit about me. My name is Felicia Sheline, and I am a certified mindset coach. I am also the founder and host of the Surpassing Labels podcast, which is a podcast for special needs families, where we kind of get stories out from different families who are going through their own special needs journeys. I also have guests on that are experts in different areas and different realms, just to have a little bit of extra resources for parents to be able to listen to, as well as some episodes on mindset and different perspectives and coaching things that I like to throw in there. So it's a great podcast. It's available on Spotify, Google, and iHeartRadio. So if you guys wanted to tune in sometime, that would be wonderful. I'm also the founder of a new initiative that I am currently in the process of turning into a nonprofit organization, and it's called the Surpassing Potential Project. And with this project, the goal is to offer mindset coaching as a transformative avenue for special needs parents as well as special needs adults who find themselves kind of feeling stuck in their situations, either just by the confines of their circumstances or a diagnosis, and they feel stuck and like they have no direction. So this initiative once it gets off the ground, we'll be providing mindset coaching to help transform these people from the inside out and be able to do it in a way that is cost effective, because we will be offering these services either free or deeply discounted depending on the situation. So that's a little bit about what I do and who I'm here to serve. And I came upon this journey myself as being a special needs mom. My middle daughter, she was diagnosed at almost 2 years old, with having a stroke in utero, which resulted in spastic hemiplegic cerebral palsy. Um, when she was a baby, she never really met any of the milestones that she should have at the time that she should have. And we brought our concerns to the doctors quite a few times during checkups and whatnot. And we were always met with, every child develops at their own pace. There's nothing really to be concerned about. And at that time, I kind of went with it because that's what they said, even though in my gut, I really knew that something wasn't quite right because I did have another older child and it just wasn't sitting well with me at the moment. But that's neither here nor there. So fast forward to where she's almost 2 and she's still not walking. She's still having a hard time even with controlling herself motor wise. And we took her in for an MRI, and that's when they discovered that she did have a stroke. So that kind of began our journey into the special needs realm. We, at the beginning, weren't sure what her long-term outlook would be because according to where her stroke was, it was kind of in prime real estate is what they called it, kind of where all of the nerve cap endings kind of come into this little capsule. And they called it prime real estate. So they weren't sure if she was going to be able to walk or talk or what her functionality really would look like as she got older. But we did get her into as many therapies and programs as we could from that point moving forward. I was a microbiologist when she was first diagnosed, so I was working full time. And once we learned what was going on, I decided to become a stay-at-home mom. And that way I could ensure that she could get all of the care and I could take her to all of the appointments and everything that were going to be required. So from there, that just threw us right into the life of doctor's appointments and therapies and procedures and all of that fun stuff. Um, and that was how things looked for a long time. I do have 2 other children, so navigating that in conjunction with them, and they also have some diagnoses that we had to navigate. But being in that position and kind of working through that, it was a lot. It was a lot, if I'm being honest. And I didn't really let myself think about how much it actually was impacting me. But I did find myself in a very, very dark place, not so good place, probably about 10 years into our journey. At that point in time, I realized that I was not as healthy as I wanted to be, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I knew that I needed to do something. I felt a call in my soul that I needed to be doing more. And I came upon a coach and I signed up for her program and I started mindset work in that program. And I loved it so much because I really could see the results, how much it was helping me, not only with my mind and navigating the things that were going on, but physically and emotionally, just holistically, how much of an impact it had on me. So I decided to become a certified mindset coach myself. And I decided that I was going to help other special needs parents. And as my journey has evolved and things have morphed, I want to branch that out into Also helping adults with special needs, especially from doing different interviews and things on my podcast, I've realized how much of an impact mindset can have on everyone. So I really want to be able to help as many people as I can. So that's where I'm at. So that's a little bit about me. All right. Well, I'm so excited to be able to dive into this with you guys today, and I really, really hope that that will help give a little bit of perspective and maybe help some people out. So, all right, here we go. All right. So once again, oh, I'm sorry. I totally went to the wrong slide. Please forgive me. All right. So first thing I wanted to talk about was some surprising information that I'm not sure if you know or not about special needs parents. So, did you know that special needs parents have entrepreneurial spirit? Entrepreneurial spirit. I can't talk today. Anyways, many special needs parents, they have a remarkable entrepreneurial spirit and innovation. They often create businesses, support groups, and online communities to address the unmet needs within the special needs community. Another surprising tidbit of information is that we really are advocacy pioneers. We're often at the forefront for advocacy efforts, driving policy changes, societal awareness, and around issues like accessibility, inclusion, and healthcare. We leverage our personal experiences to advocate for change and improve support services for individuals with special needs. Another really interesting factor is we have amazing creative expression. Many special needs parents, they find solace and empowerment through creative expression. To be able to channel our experiences into art, music, writing, or other forms of expression, and fostering a self-expression to help promote awareness about the joys and the struggles of our journeys. We are also amazing creative problem solvers. We often develop innovative and creative solutions to address our children's unique needs. From homemade adaptive equipment to do-it-yourself sensory tools, we can find practical solutions to everyday challenges. And these skills benefit not only our own families, but also the wider community when we share those. And we also have an amazing global community. We form a diverse and global community that transcends geographical boundaries to offer support, to share resources, and advocate for one another. Through different online forums, social media groups, international conferences, we forge connections, enriching each other's lives with our shared experiences and support. And those are so powerful. And a lot of times, I don't think people are as aware of how amazing we can be when we choose to be. So I just wanted to bring that to your awareness because I think it's a good piece of information to have. Now, we also have some other surprising information that you might not be as aware of, which aren't quite as positive, unfortunately. The first one being health impacts. Caring for a child with special needs can have a significant impact on the parent's physical, mental, and emotional health. These increased impacts can cause compounded chronic traumatic stress, and it can really take a toll on your body. Research indicates that parents of children with special needs are at higher risk of developing chronic health conditions like hypertension, diabetes, depression, and anxiety, along with a lot of others. So prioritizing that caregiver well-being is very, very crucial to be able to show up for our children in the capacity that we want to. Another big thing that I know that a lot of us struggle with is isolation. We are at a much higher risk of social isolation due to the demands of caregiving and, unfortunately, the lack of understanding and support from other communities and sometimes even our own families. Studies show that at least 30% of parents with children with special needs report feeling socially isolated. Another huge one here is the financial strain of raising a child with medical needs. We face much higher medical expenses, educational expenses compared to other families. Research have shown that families with children who have medical needs spend an average of $8,000 to $12,000 more a year on medical and education costs. Of course, it depends on the condition and the severity, and it can be significantly higher, but these really place a huge strain on parents. That, in conjunction with employment challenges, because approximately 34% of parents report that they have had to quit their jobs or reduce their hours to help care for their child. So, this statistic highlights the significant impact that caregiving responsibilities can have on a parent's employment and opportunities, as well as the financial stability. And then the last one that I want to talk about is marital strain. The demands of caregiving can really strain a marital relationship. Studies have shown that children with disabilities are at a much higher risk of divorce or separation compared to parents who aren't in that situation. And it's a lot of times just due to the added stress and demands that are placed on the individuals. And it can be hard to work through and overcome those sometimes. Okay. And from here out, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to just ask me. I'm more than happy to answer anything. If not, we can wait till the end, and that's completely fine too. So just let me know. All right. Okay. So how can we start to break through some of these challenges? Well, the first thing to think about is, where are you at honestly? We need to be able to take a real and honest look at where you are at right here and right now. I mean, we all have good days and we all have bad days, and that's okay. But overall, where are you at? Just think about that for a minute. And any answer here is perfectly okay and perfectly normal. So please don't think that you're way out in left field, because we have all been there. The important thing to remember is just to be true to yourself and honest with your answer. So, where do you want to be? Once again, honesty is key here. There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone is different and we're all unique and designed differently. So, this can look drastically different from person to person. Okay, another question to ask is, what may be holding you back from being where you want to be? That's a big one. And you don't have to have the answers to these right now. I just want you to be able to start thinking about this. And a lot of times we don't ask ourselves these kind of questions. And it's really important to start being able to do that, to kind of see where we're at and where we want to go, and maybe eventually figure out the steps to bridge the gap between there so we can start moving forward. Okay. And I want to let you know that it's okay to think about what you really want your life to look like, not what others think that it should look like, not what maybe your parents think it should look like, or the neighbors think it should look like, or your husband should thinks that it should look like, but what do you really want it to look like? All right. And the last thing that I wanted to leave you with on this slide is, our imperfections make us human. And it's okay, no matter where you're at, where you find yourself, because it's all part of your journey and a part of your story. And everything that has happened and anything that you may view as an imperfection, it's okay, because we're all just people. All right, we're going to move on to self-honesty. What is self-honesty? We often hear about the importance of honesty, especially in relationships with others. But what about the relationship that we have with ourselves? Self-honesty is a type of awareness that is foundational for making real changes in your life, setting realistic goals, and ultimately finding fulfillment and happiness. Why is self-honesty so important? It's so hard to do. Oh, this one's big. Why is it so challenging to be honest with yourself? This is something that I had struggled with immensely. So I understand where people are coming from with this because I had a hard time with this one myself. Many of us spend our time ignoring, hiding, or running away from our true feelings, our thoughts, and our dreams. Sometimes it's because we genuinely don't know what we want, because we don't ask ourselves these questions. Other times we know exactly what we want, but we're too afraid to admit it not only to ourselves, but to try to make any changes to actually move towards what we want. Afraid of others what excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied again. Afraid of what others may think, afraid of the uncertainty, afraid of possibilities a lot of times. Or maybe we feel unworthy, like we aren't good enough to think about what we really want. I struggled with this one a lot too. Or we might avoid accepting reality because the truth can just be unpleasant sometimes and very uncomfortable. It can be painful and ugly, especially if you've spent a lot of time lying to yourself about things, the big things or the small things or everything in between. But why is being honest with yourself so important? Why can't we just ignore our doubts, ignore our fears, and just ignore our dreams? Why can't we just brush everything aside and brush aside the truth of who we really are? It might seem easier to do that, but the reason is really simple. You live with yourself every minute of the day. If you are not in touch with your own truth, you can't fully rely on yourself. Without self-honesty, you're essentially operating on autopilot, making decisions based off of others' expectations or past patterns, and you'll likely end up feeling miserable. To truly understand what you want from life, what aligns with who you really are, and to start taking meaningful steps towards achieving it, you have to be honest with yourself. How can you pursue the life that you want if you refuse to acknowledge your unhappiness or ignore what your soul is telling you? You can't. It's just that straightforward. You have to start being honest with yourself. And it's a skill that needs to be learned. Like I said, it is not easy. It takes practice, and you may have to adjust things as needed if you start straying from the path. I know I've had to adjust things quite regularly. Just like with anything else, the more you practice, the easier it gets. All right, so moving on here, what would not being honest with yourself looks like? I'm guilty of a lot of things, so I understand. So sometimes if we aren't being completely honest with ourselves, it could feel like something's off in your life, whether it's in a relationship, like it's losing a spark, or you're no longer happy in your job, or you feel busy, but you don't feel productive. It might be time to look inside and start getting really honest with yourself. So if you're not being honest, you could be doing things like self-sabotaging. And this could look like you saying you want one thing, but you do the opposite. Many of us sabotage ourselves out of fear. And a lot of times it's the fear of success. which seems kind of counterintuitive, but we can tend to do that sometimes. Another way that this could manifest would be to complain without taking action. You might complain about hating your job, but never take any steps to try to find a new one. Or think that there are no good partners out there for you, but you make no effort to make, or to make, but you make no effort to meet any new people. Another one is maybe you don't handle criticism well. You might get offensive when someone gives you feedback. So if criticism makes you feel particularly hurtful, it might be because part of you recognizes it as an inner truth. Responding defensively instead of introspectively and thinking about it could indicate a need for you to be a little bit more honest with yourself. And these are just a couple ways that it could look like and manifest. All right. So the next question would be, how do we get honest with ourselves? First, we need to question you. This is a critical aspect of being honest with yourself. It involves going beneath the surface, beneath that surface level of beliefs and assumption of what you think you know, what you think you believe, what you think seems to be true or real. Start asking challenging questions like, why do I feel this way? What am I avoiding by acting this way? By questioning yourself, you create an opportunity to see, oh goodness, I totally lost my screen. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. I'm back now. Sometimes these presentations can go all over the place. I apologize. But by asking yourself questions, you can create an opportunity to see things from a different perspective and a new way and a new light and reveal your truth. This practice helps break through denial and self-deception, allowing you to see what you really think and what you really believe and what you really want your life to look like. Another thing would be to perform a self-assessment. This is a lot like looking in the mirror and assessing what's being reflected back to you. It's a process in which you evaluate your own strength and skills, your weaknesses, and your overall performance. It involves reflecting on all the aspects of your life to evaluate, discover, and accept the person who you really are. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love about yourself? And what not so much? And why? Have you ever asked yourself those questions before? I know I never did. Absolutely not. It was terrifying to me to be able to even start thinking along these lines, to be completely honest. But this process, it gives us the opportunity to see ourselves through our own eyes. And when we can truthfully look at ourselves and recognize that we are more than enough, even with our flaws, with all of our quirks, we are still amazing people and we have so much to give to the world. When we can see the real us, maybe for the first time ever in our lives. Once we uncover our true selves, we have to be able to accept everything that we see. And that's where radical self-acceptance comes in. We accept the awesome, the good, the strengths, but we also have to accept the not so good, the uncomfortable, and the weaknesses, because they're all a part of us. They are what make us who we are. Every part of us is who we are meant to be, and once we accept each part of ourselves, we can begin living in the light, never hiding from who we really are again. Another big one here is being honest with our emotions about how we're feeling, no matter what they look like. Whether you're carrying things like guilt, shame, anger, resentment, fear, knowing that they are all okay. And I struggled with a lot of these, especially guilt and fear, but emotions are a part of how we experience life. And for us to be able to learn how to embrace them and work through them, it's a huge part of who we are and a huge part of what shapes us into who we can be as we move forward. And any emotion that you have is okay. But in order to be honest, you have to be able to see what your real emotions are and actually acknowledge them. Because you're never going to be able to work through them if you don't acknowledge and be honest with what you're feeling. And then the last one here is our environment, both personally and professionally. Our surroundings, they play a huge role in shaping our experiences. The environment that you are in, whether it's work or home or social circles, they influence your behavior. They influence your decision making and overall your mindset. Now, does your environment encourage you to live your best life or not so much? And why? Aim to find or create an environment where you can express your truth. And remember, developing self-honesty, it's a long-term project and it requires a lot of work and a lot of effort. But breaking free from those old unhealthy behaviors and negative habits, it is hard. It is very, very hard because it's hard to stop deceiving and hiding from yourself. And that's okay. But the key is to keep practicing. The more you accept, the more, here I go again. I'm tongue-tied, I tell you. The more you work on accepting the truth, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll notice an improvement in your thoughts, in your peace of mind, and your overall well-being. Being deceptive with yourself, it can be very stressful, very exhausting, especially when you are trying to hide the truth from you. You're always running from you, and it's exhausting. Letting go of some of these deceptions, you free up the energy for more positive pursuits and for you to simply just be. So just embrace the truth, even if it's painful, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's awesome and happy, and truly be able to experience the freedom that it brings. It does make all the difference, especially when you are trying to navigate hard situations. If you have more energy and more peace of mind, it changes everything. It really does. Okay, moving on. Here's another quote that I really love. If you will not imagine yourself other than you are, you will remain as you are. A quote by Neville Goddard. So if we can't think of a way that we are being, like imagine ourselves in any other way, then we're going to stay stuck where we are. But I would like to just introduce the idea of imagining what could be possible, even if your circumstances are hard. And I know a lot of us have hard circumstances, a lot of things on our plate. But there's always the room for possibilities. There's always the room to dream. And with those dreams, we create the space for us to move forward. And if we can move forward, we won't stay where we are. And I just think that's beautiful and magical. And I want to plant that seed in your head that anything is possible if you just choose to imagine and dream. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It's just wonderful. Okay, here we go. We are going to talk next about acknowledging emotions. I know these are heavy topics, guys, and I appreciate you staying with me through this, but I do really believe that the more we are able to talk about these uncomfortable things, the easier it's going to be for us to work through and let go of some of the heaviness that is holding us down and keeping us stuck where we are at. So I hope that this is helping. You guys can let me know. All right. So moving on to acknowledging emotions. All right. I'd like to start off by saying that being a parent is an emotional roller coaster. And being a special needs parent can take this roller coaster to new and crazy heights. Every day is a whirlwind of emotion, from joy of celebrating your child's wins and any tiny little bit of progress to the gut-wrenching fear of facing unknown challenges. It leaves you feeling exhilarated one minute and completely drained the next. I don't really know why. Maybe it's how previous generations were brought up or what we learned in society that's been normalized. But for a lot of us, we have lived our lives not really being able to understand our emotions, let alone express them in a healthy way. Some of us hide our true feelings. Some of us run away from them. Some of us can't even be honest enough to acknowledge how we are feeling or that we have any emotions at all. This becomes very apparent whenever you ask someone how they're doing and you get my favorite word, fine. That was my favorite word all the time. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Fine is not my go-to word anymore. It's not my favorite word anymore. But the subject of emotions has kind of become broken and taboo because it makes people feel uncomfortable. They don't like talking about emotions, especially when they can see another person actively expressing their emotions. People get extremely uncomfortable. But the truth of the matter is, emotions are nothing but a completely natural process of living life. We all have them. We all have the good, we all have the bad, we all have the ugly, the uncomfortable, the painful. It is part of living, of being alive, of any type of life that you have. They are a crucial part of your experience, and they help to shape who you are. So why is it important to be able to acknowledge our emotions? There's a lot of reasons, starting with that it's so much healthier for you emotionally, mentally, and physically to be able to acknowledge and work through our emotions. Our emotions, they impact our thoughts. Our emotions impact our attitudes. They impact the actions that we take and ultimately the results that we have in our lives. They are a huge part and extremely essential to the lives that we are living. All right. Acknowledging emotions and why. Well, a big reason here is it enhances our emotional regulation. When we are able to acknowledge our emotions, we gain a clearer understanding of what we're feeling and why. This awareness is the first step towards effectively managing and regulating emotions. It allows us to respond thoughtfully to a situation rather than react impulsively. So when we acknowledge our emotions, we're more capable of handling stress, staying calm in difficult situations, and making decisions that align not only with our goals, but also our values. It allows us to be more balanced. Another big reason why is to help prevent burnout. Suppressing our emotions or constantly pushing through stress without processing anything It can lead to a lot of physical and emotional burnout. And I can attest to this because me, I used to be a big suppressor and a big pusher through. And I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on not only my mental and emotional health, but my physical health as well. And once I was able to start acknowledging and working through some of this, it's amazing the relief that you feel. It just like a weight is lifted off of your shoulder. But acknowledging emotions can help you recognize when you're starting to reach your limits of overwhelm and burnout. And by paying attention to this state, you're better equipped to set boundaries and take necessary breaks and engage in self-care before the burnout or the overwhelm happen. Because once you're in those states, it's so hard. It's so hard to get yourself out. Not only that, but you just start reacting impulsively instead of responding to the situations. And it's just a vicious cycle. It just snowballs because if you if you are reacting and you are behaving in ways that you wish you wouldn't have later, like if you're snapping at your kids because you're getting overwhelmed or you're burned out and exhausted, and you're snapping at your kids and your husband, and then you feel guilty for snapping, and then you just continue the cycle. It really can just snowball. So paying attention to your emotional state is very, very important. This proactive approach leads to greater resilience, more energy, and peace over time. Okay. Another big reason why is a little bit of what we talked about earlier, that radical self-acceptance. If we can acknowledge our emotions, that means that we're accepting ourselves fully, including the parts of us that feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, or even maybe unacceptable by other people's standards. And this level of self-acceptance is transformative. It helps us embrace who we are without judgment or the need to change to fit anybody else's expectations. It fosters a deep sense of self-worth and inner peace. Emotions provide valuable information about what matters to us. Our happiness, sadness, anger, they all give us insights into our needs, the boundaries that we should be expressing, and our desires. By acknowledging our emotions, we can use them as a guide to navigate decisions that are more informed and aligned with our values and with the needs that we're facing, no matter the circumstance or situation. They act as a signal showing us areas of our lives that need attention or may need to change. And finally, acknowledging our emotions fosters better communication with others. We express how we feel. We can foster deeper connections and understanding in our relationships. That's with family members, our kids, the people around us, and our communities. Understanding emotions can help us navigate conflicts more constructively, and acknowledging how we feel, we can approach disagreements with empathy and a clearer perspective and not be quite so reactive. You can respond in a way that you choose to instead of reacting. All right. Feelings are just visitors. Let them come and go. A quote by Muji. I really love this because it reminds us that emotions are temporary, and it encourages a healthy perspective on acknowledging them because they are fleeting. They come and they go. And as long as we are okay acknowledging them, accepting them, embracing them, working through them, and letting them go, we'll be able to take the steps that we need so we can start moving forward. All right, so our final topic today is going to be following your intuition. And this is a pretty big topic, and I don't think that a lot of us talk enough about it. But it is a huge part of life if we let it be. So I'm going to take a quick drink here. Sorry, guys. All right. So, understanding our intuition. What is it? Intuition is often described as an immediate understanding or knowing without the need for conscious reasoning. It can feel like a gut feeling, an instinct, an inner voice that prompts us towards a particular action or thought. Emotional intuition involves understanding and interpreting your emotions and those of others. It can act as a guide to interpersonal relationships and social interactions. And then we also have cognitive intuition. This refu- huh, I'm just getting all tongue-tied today. I'm telling you. Sorry. This refers to the mental shortcuts we use based on past experiences and knowledge. It helps in problem solving and decision making by quickly analyzing situations. And then we also have something that's called somatic intuition. Now, this is kind of what you feel in your body. It's the body's way of signaling an intuitive knowledge through physical sensation. For instance, feeling tension in the stomach when facing a difficult decision. So there are different forms of intuition. Okay, here we go. Intuition versus rational thinking, logic and intuition. So rational thinking relies on logic, analysis, and evidence. A lot of research too. Intuition draws on a subconscious pattern and experiences. Now, both are very, very valuable, but intuition can offer insights when logical reasoning might fall short, or if you don't have the ability to go do research or things like that. If we rely on our intuition, it might be another avenue to help us make decisions. So, intuition can be influenced by our emotional state. Recognizing the emotional context can help clarify whether the feeling is based off of a fear, a desire, or genuine insight. Intuition can develop in different ways: experience and learning. It can be shaped by the things that we've went through and the knowledge that we've gained. The more we encounter different situations, the more our intuitive sense can be honed. But that's only if we allow ourselves to listen to it. Because if we just push it away, then that skill is not going to be something that we readily learn. Um, and it's harder to rely on it because you haven't built the skill. Subconscious processing is when our brains continuously process information at the subconscious level, and it can contribute to the intuitive feelings. This is why sometimes we just know something without being able to articulate why, is because something in our subconscious has been activated by a situation, and we instinctively know because of the patterns and the processing that we have. Does that make sense? If not, just let me know. Signs and cultivation. All right. So some signs could be physical sensations, things like a sense of calmness, excitement, or discomfort in the body when faced with decisions, when faced with new situations or people. Another thing would be clarity in thoughts. Intuitive insights often come with a sense of clarity or certainty, even if it's not following the logical path. And then reoccurring themes. Pay attention to thoughts or feelings that repeat on the surface. These can indicate intuitive messages that are worth exploring at least. All right, and we were talking earlier about developing the skill of intuition. If you often disregard it and not listen to it, it can become something that is a little harder for you to grasp. So in order to cultivate a good sense of intuition, the one that you can rely on more readily, when it makes sense, of course, would be different cultivation practices. Like the first one is mindfulness practice, techniques like meditation, yoga, deep breathing. It can enhance your ability to connect with your intuition by quieting the mind and allowing those deeper insights a path to emerge from. Journaling can be extremely helpful. Keeping a journal so you can reflect on your thoughts and feelings, making it easier to identify those intuitive patterns over time, and listening to your body. Pay attention to how your body responds in different situations. This awareness can strengthen your connection to your intuitive self. Listen to that gut. There's been so many times, especially throughout my journey with the medical profession, that I've really had to listen to my gut and advocate, and almost 100% of the time, it's always been right. So always listen to your gut. All right, trusting your intuition. This one here can be a little tricky sometimes. So start by making small decisions based off of gut feelings, if you have them. As you see positive outcomes, your trust in your intuition will grow. And the trust that you have in that intuition will also be building the skill of your intuitive mind being able to lead you in the direction that you need to go. Evaluate the outcomes. Reflect on past decisions that you've made from intuition. What worked and what didn't? And if it didn't, were there any other factors involved? Maybe like substantial emotions. This can help you discern when to trust your gut. Please also recognize that fear or doubt often accompanies intuitive feelings. This can help you navigate those emotions without dismissing the intuitive insights. A lot of times when we have those intuitive hits, those intuitive thoughts, we can doubt whether we're making sense because our logical minds wants to jump in and say, oh, wait. You don't need to be taking that path. But if you know in your gut and in your heart that it's the right thing to do, just take that small step forward and see what happens. If it's leading you in the right direction, keep following that intuition. If for some reason it's not, then we can always put the brakes on and we can always pivot. Just remember those intuitive hits, those intuitive reactions and thoughts, they are important sometimes, and we do need to listen to them. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. A quote by Benjamin Spock. We all have the knowledge we need inside of us. We know what we need to do. We just have to trust ourselves and our inner voice. I love that. Definitely ties in well with the intuition. All right. Just bringing this to the end here, just a few more slides, a few more things. This right here is my 6-step method that I like to use with my clients, just to help them get more in touch with where they're at, honestly, and kind of help them figure out the direction that they want to go based off of the design of who they are. So the first step is to be honest with yourself. The second step is forgiveness, forgiveness to yourself and others, and realizing that forgiveness is not so much about forgetting things. It's more about the idea of thinking that the past should have happened, letting go of the idea of thinking that the past should have happened in a different way. And that's really huge for a lot of people. The third is acknowledging your emotions. This is a huge part of who we are, and it shapes not only our thoughts and our actions, but ultimately the results that we have in our life. The next is getting okay with uncertainty. We, as special needs parents, have so many things that we're not certain of. I mean, one minute everything can be going along completely fine, and the next minute, yeah, not so much. getting okay with uncertainty, learning to embrace it, and learning that no matter what, you're going to be able to navigate whatever comes at you is a huge part of being able to navigate our journeys in a positive space. The next is following that intuition. And the last is learning to let go. Learning to let go of expectations that we place upon ourselves, expectations that society has, just learning to let go of things that are not serving us. And those can be hard to do sometimes, but they are so impactful for your overall well-being. And the important thing to remember here is this whole method and even mindset work, it's all focused on you, focused on transforming you from the inside out. And when we are able to do that, we not only are making such a dramatic impact on who we are being, how we are living in the world, and being able to put out into the world what we're meant to do, but we can impact everyone around us. Our kids, they see us modeling this. They see us taking care of ourselves. They see us being happier. They see us learning how to navigate life from a different perspective and a different awareness. And it is so monumental for them. But not only our kids, but our partners, our friends, our coworkers. It has such a ripple effect on the world around us. And the impact that you can create just by making some simple shifts, it's huge. And I just want to put that awareness out there of how big of a step it is for you to take one small step at trying to make yourself feel better, to try to make yourself be more of the parent that you want to be able to handle your situations and in a positive way. Just that one little step can have such a ripple effect on the world around you. It absolutely can. Okay, I could go on about that all day, so I will stop there. All right. So here's another quote. I wanted to leave you with a couple more before we end it today. Just once again to kind of touch upon the subject of possibility and potential, because I really see so much potential and possibility, not only in you, but in our little ones and the world around us. And it just amazes me and it does my heart good. So we all have more potential than we know. In order to discover it, we have to be brave enough to face our fears, face our emotions, face our challenges, to embrace them, and to embrace the potential and possibilities. Just being able to recognize that it's okay to be scared, but being brave and taking that first step and realizing that you have everything inside of you that you need to create the life that you want, the situations that you want, to be able to respond how you want. It is so powerful, so powerful. And the one thing that you have that nobody else has is you. Your voice, your mind, your story, your vision. So write, draw, build, play, and dance, and live as only you can. A quote by Neil Gaiman. Oh, that's just powerful. Nobody has what you have because nobody is you. You are perfect and amazing exactly the way you are. And your story and your journey is exactly what it's supposed to be. And realizing that you have the potential within you to create the next chapters in your story. What more could you ask for? So I just wanted to leave you with those, a little bit of inspiration to end your day. All right, guys, thank you so, so much for being here today. I am beyond appreciative, and I really hope that some of this resonated with you and helped even if just in a little way. I appreciate your time. So thank you. I did want to let you know that I do offer free pathway to potential discovery calls. And then I also have a website and with the Surpassing Potential Project, I have a website for that as well. But if anybody needs any support, guidance, has any questions, just needs to chat, I'm always here. Just, message me either through a call, or you could send me an email, or hit me up on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Message me and I'd be more than happy to chat. I'm always here to help in any way that I can. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here, and you have a wonderful day. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.